wanted to share a couple of thoughts with you. This is a Taurus Model 65 357 Magnum. It's got a Tyler T-grip on it, and I added a SIG number 6 front night sight because it's primarily a house gun. But you see a lot of people on message boards really worried about 357 Magnum. Oh, what's the best load? 125 grain bullet's going to cut your gun up here at the top strap. It's going to crack your forcing cone. You know, the 110 grain bullet, which is just regular Winchester white box 110 grain 357 Magnum soft point. It's a semi-jacketed hollow point. The other load that I have is just a MagTech flat nosed 154 grain 38 special standard cowboy load. That's all this is. You see a lot online about, oh, the 110 grain load won't penetrate. It's going to get you killed if you try to shoot somebody with it. And I find that laughable. I don't know what world people live in that shooting somebody else with a 110 grain 357 Magnum is going to get you killed unless they're shooting it at you. But Border Patrol used this round for many years and were satisfied with it. You know, at extreme distances, I mean, these are all handgun rounds. Handguns are sidearms. They're backup weapons. So none of them are particularly lethal or potent, more so than any other handgun round. But the 110 grain, there's a lot of attributes. I like this round for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's fairly inexpensive. You can buy it at Walmart. Number two, it's a 357 Magnum round, and it is devastating in soft tissue. It creates a hell of a damn permanent crush cavity, and it will fragment as well. And by the way, for those old timers watching this, that used to be a good thing, fragmentation, until the FBI decided that they wanted the bullets to penetrate a certain depth, and no, it has to be more than 12 but less than 14, and so now all bullets are designed to do the same thing, which is ridiculous. They made an incorrect assumption that the two felons, one of them armed with a 12 gauge shotgun shooting double-aught buckshot at them, and the other with a Mini 14 shooting 5.56 ammo, that they had something other than 9mm and 38 specials, their agents would still be alive, and that's completely false. The 9mm silver tip went in the guy's chest, severed his main heart artery, and I don't care if he'd have been shot with a 44 mag, the result would have been the same. The bullet went in, it expanded, it severed an artery, and they got the result that it took a few seconds for the guy to die, to bleed out. In other words, unless you hit somebody in the brain, the central nervous system, or the next best thing is rapid loss of blood pressure. And the only way to create a rapid loss of blood pressure is to shoot something into the tissue that's going to create a huge permanent crush cavity, and hopefully, I think, even blow out the other side. Why not have a hole going in, a massive crush cavity, and a hole going out? Because if I'm relying upon rapid loss of blood pressure, the better way to do that is to have more holes. And if I can get 2 instead of 1, that's fine. So I don't necessarily agree with, right now, according to the FBI statistics, all bullets are designed, handgun bullets are designed to do the same thing. So it really doesn't matter, in essence, which caliber you really use. And I think that if I can shoot somebody, blow a big hole in, have even fragment, and especially if it goes all the way through, I'm that much better off. So, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I like the 110 grain load. There are other choices. There are other choices that impart more energy theoretically on paper and on target. But it's not. I don't want people to think. Don't feel bad about it at all. If you go to Walmart and get yourself some 110 grain loads, shoot them in your. Go ahead and get yourself a wheel gun too. That's the other thing, by the way. Don't feel bad about it at all. It's not outdated technology. You can defend yourself very well with a 357 Magnum or 38 Special, 44 Special. Don't feel bad about getting these folks They may not be the best, but what is the best? Do we want a super bullet that you can shoot it and it's going to fly in circles and then it's going to hit exactly where you want it to, and then the guy's just going to die before it ever hits him because you're scaring him to death? Or realize that these are all handgun rounds, and it's still a 357 Magnum, and it's probably going to penetrate, expand, hopefully it'll fragment, create some more tissue damage, and if it blows right through, great. If not, shoot him again. That's why you got 6 of them. So the more important element is you guys on message boards worrying about whether the 110 grain is a good or bad load. Put them in your gun and learn how to shoot them. And if you can hit, if you can hit 6 shots in the size of your fist, I'd say you're very well protected. Or whether that was a 22 long rifle or whether it's a 44 mag. But until you can do that, stop worrying about which bullet you put in your gun and go shoot it. Douche. Here's a demonstration. This is 338 specials and 3 110 grain 357 Magnums, and we're going to see. I think there's a distinct difference in the 357 Magnums that don't exist when you look at them on paper. Okay, Trav, go ahead. Just slow fire. Okay, how you feel about those? Was there a distinct difference on dropping the hammer on the 110 grainers?
Yeah, there's a difference, definitely. Not super distinct, but it was it's heavier. That's for sure. Heavier.
On paper, yeah, it felt more like a Magnum round, right?
Oh yeah.
And on paper, let me get both of us in here. On paper, the 110 grain is ballistically similar to a 9mm 115 grain plus P plus. But I can tell you that there's a distinct difference in dropping the hammer on one of these 110 grainers and dropping the hammer on a 115 grain plus P plus. The Magnum round is heavier, and I know theoretically on paper it's the same, but the bullet design is different. These are soft point rounds. It's a Magnum load, and it's gonna go in. It's gonna mushroom violently, and it's gonna fragment. There's a distinct difference in those 2 rounds, and so like I said, don't worry about it. Shoot your 110 grain loads, practice with them. Don't worry about putting them in your handgun for carry. The one thing I like about it is this is kind of a house gun for us. My wife can handle these 110 grain loads. The recoil is very, very mild, and also for you message board guys, when you're worried about, oh, my gun's regulated, I looked on the TARS website, and my gun was designed to shoot 158 grain bullets. 357 Magnums. So yeah, if you're worried about point of aim versus point of impact, trust me when I tell you, at the distances that you're shooting the gun, you're talking about 1 inch difference between where the 158 grain load hits and where the 110 grain load hits. And I don't think that I'm going to care if you shoot me somewhere in the chest whether you're 1 inch off or not. It does not matter unless you're target shooting. Now for you bullseye shooters, if you're out there shooting with 357 Magnums, then you're obviously you need adjustable sights on your gun, and it's a different story. But for combat shooting, protection, it simply does not matter that much. If there even is a 1 inch difference. My gun seems to shoot slightly lower, about 3/4 of an inch lower with 110 grain Magnums than it does with 125 grain Magnums and 158 grain, and that goes for 38 specials too plus P's. in that order. So there's only a 1-inch difference, folks, in point of impact. So it's not enough to be worried about and be writing volumes about, or even for me to be talking about this much. So we're having fun. Go buy you several boxes of them, put them in your gun. Your wife can shoot them for preppers. It's a great round. It's still a 357 Magnum, and it still deserves your attention and consideration and your respect. Peace out from the DNR shooting range.
Peace.